Welcome to the Voice of the One podcast. This is Isaiah-Kenney speaking. Call me Kenny. This beautiful series, Plants and Miracles. Learning A Course in Miracles with Ayahuasca. I've been wanting to do this series for quite a long time. I feel that there's a lot of confusion in the world about what is ayahuasca, whether or not it's a valid spiritual path. I've encountered many spiritual teachers that frown upon it, all of which don't understand it. I've actually never met a spiritual teacher, whether that be a contemporary teacher, a Vedantist, a Buddhist, a Course in Miracles teacher, or any other spiritual teacher that has commented on it, that has actually undergone the spiritual tradition of the Ayahuasquero. So I hope to bring some light to still inquiring minds as to what ayahuasca is, interestingly enough, there's a lot of confusion about ayahuasca, even in ayahuasca circles, in tribesmen and practitioners with lineages that go back hundreds and hundreds of years. There's a lot of malpractice in ayahuasca and a lack of understanding. I'm a Course in Miracles practitioner and advanced teacher, and I've been living with ayahuasca since 2017. I've lived with the workbook and ayahuasca for many, 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 many years now. It's actually quite an interesting story on how I came to know ayahuasca. While practicing the Course in Miracles, beginning in 2013 very rigorously, and into 2014, I experienced what the Course calls the face of Christ, a holy perception of yourself, or a beautiful golden circle, the halo, and the sense of separation between myself and my brothers, the world, came to an end for quite a while. This quite a while is what the Course calls an out-of-pattern time interval. And it's an interval of time in which there's no judgment. There's no sense of scarcity. There's no thinking. And the world envelops in a beautiful light. After I had this experience, my mind began falling into angelic reality. And it was quite confusing to me. I couldn't understand. You would think it would be something very beautiful. And in one sense, it was, and still is. But in another sense, it's very challenging, because my mind refused to let go of so many false rewards of this world. I wanted so much to cross over into this beautiful angelic universe, but I could not. I found myself in the grips of addiction again. and in so much pain. When I heard a voice inside me lead me to the Amazon jungle, I wanted to understand what was happening to me. When I found myself at the foot of a Shipibo master, my first ayahuasca teacher, and I began to discover what ayahuasca really is in the light of A Course in Miracles. Ayahuasca is a great amplifier. It amplifies the conditions of your mind. It helps you understand the fundamental principle that the world you see is a reflection of your own inward condition. It's a mental projection of the dominant ideas in your own mind. These ideas are projected on a screen of what seems to be darkness. This darkness that you see, that just about everybody's accustomed to because you see it when you close your eyes, is actually the idea of scarcity. Scarcity is the idea of lack. Lack is the idea of the absence of light or the denial of God. So to live in the idea of scarcity is to project false ideas and create a world that isn't real, that's based on scarcity. And we have so many ideas that we value that are based on scarcity. The idea that we're not loving. Ideas of sickness, death, and fear. A lack of security. The idea that we're missing something internally and have to go get it from something outside. This is what A Course in Miracles calls the getting concept, the great disease of humanity. It states that all sickness is a form of external searching, of looking outside to solve an internal problem. It's really a separation of cause and effect. Cause are ideas, beliefs in the mind that are given faith to. These ideas then project the realm of perception that you experience as effect. And in our case, we live in a sickness of separation of cause and effect, in a constant struggle, living in a constant contradiction, because we believe our problems are caused by something outside of us, a sense of external causation. Now, we've all experienced a present moment where we felt threatened, suddenly uncomfortable, frustrated by someone or something, annoyed by traffic, by our lover, by our parents, by our siblings, by our boss. It's always something. So where's the problem? Where do we perceive the problem? In the illusion of separation, in the illusion of duality. It seems that the effects that we feel, for example, anger, has a cause external to our own mind. whether that be the government, whether that be some food that didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to, whether that be the lack of our sex life. It doesn't really matter. Where's the problem? It's the addiction to perceiving the problem outside. In Course terms, we call that a grievance. It's when we come upon a seeming present moment that threatens us, something insufficient, worthy of complaint, a resentment. We suddenly feel attacked. And what's taking place is we're issuing a judgment that the source of our pain is outside ourselves. Well, in the world of ayahuasca, you can't get away with this for very long. If you really, really deeply want to know the truth, if you really want to question the nature of reality, if you really want to see what spiritual sickness is and how you rise above it. And as you do, you begin to learn it always starts with the grievance. And we begin thinking about that thing that's going to fulfill that sense of lack. And it becomes an obsession. We have to have that thing. Or that thing outside needs to change. So we feel better. So we act compulsively. We think compulsively. We grab that thing addictively to fulfill that false sense of lack. But it never really fills the sense of lack because it can't. Those external things can't, and neither can the thoughts that we have that tell us they can, which are really all just thoughts in reality. You're never going to have a thought that's going to make you feel whole. So ayahuasca shows you all this? Absolutely. What happens when you drink ayahuasca is the conditions in your mind that are no good for you begin to get amplified, as we said. It begins to show you what it is you're holding on to, that you're not forgiving in yourself, that you're not letting go of. So you're faced with this reflection, and you have a choice. Stop blaming anybody and anything, which includes yourself. Now, at the same time, you're not guilting yourself or anyone else. You still have to take a non-guilty responsibility for the condition of your own mind. Because if you try to put the source of your problem external to you, where the problem isn't, you'll never solve your problem, and you'll stay in pain. So what do? You have to go through it. You got to deal with it so you can heal. And that means you begin to accept the present moment for what it is. A lesson from God. And you can appreciate that moment instead of separate yourself from it. If you separate yourself from the moment, well, you'll never rectify it. See, you can't fix a mental condition by hating it Doesn't work that way. Grievances do nothing but hold sickness in place. Now, appreciation, entirely different story. Appreciation is unifying. When you can appreciate a lesson, you can learn from it. You can go beyond it. There's a willingness to look at that moment and say, okay, instead of, no, I hate this, go away, present moment, which is what happens with everybody who drinks ayahuasca. Now you have a shift in perception. Now we're beginning to learn about what forgiveness is. And say, okay, maybe there's something this moment has to teach me. And I'm willing to inquire into what that is. What does this moment have to teach me? What is this reflection that I feel very uncomfortable with? What am I holding a grievance against? Against whom? Against what? Is it possible to hold a grievance against anyone other than yourself? If the present moment is you, and I submit to you that it is, then you can only forgive yourself. There's no one else to forgive because there's only one self. And you begin to discover the sickness of separation is the sickness of self-centered thinking. Why is that? Because self-centered thinking comes from a private mind. Because self-centered thinking is built on comparisons. Because self-centered thinking is fragmentary. It's divisive. It produces the perception of differences. So you have to learn how to give up the thought system of the ego and allow it to be replaced with the thought system of God. So in course terms, you begin to give up thinking from the wrong mind, and you begin to learn what it means to think from the right mind. And what that means is that all the thoughts that you have now, they don't mean anything. They mean nothing at all. There's not a thought that you have 90% of the time that means anything at all. I mean, you may have some practical thoughts, but outside of those, they're all illusions. You see, in a unified mind, God thinks for you. There's nothing for you to do. You don't have to plan or figure things out. You don't have to manage your own life. You don't have to do anything. As a matter of fact, if you think you have to do something, then you're going to have illusionary thoughts that serve the illusionary self that believes it thinks from a private mind and can choose ways to make itself happy, to make itself feel secure, to enrich itself. None of that's real. And you begin to move from the thought system of the wrong mind, this addiction to thinking from the ego, which is very much obsessive. And I'm sure you've all experienced, you can't stop thinking. You think all the time. And most people have no idea that they're completely identified with this form of thinking. And they don't know that they're living in illusions. We have all these thoughts about all these things we think we like, which are really all false rewards, and all these likes, and dislikes for that matter, are these false beliefs that produce illusionary thoughts that we follow, and we're out there chasing feelings. That's what everybody's doing, chasing feelings. Sexual feelings, thrills. Tasty treats. Movies. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have a healthy sexual relationship or watch a movie or have these life experiences, but the difference is soul feeling versus worldly feeling. You see, worldly feelings, they don't last. If you're going to have ups, you have to have downs. If you're going to have excitement, you're going to have anxiety. That's the way it works. Pleasure is pain. I know that's a very difficult pill to swallow for a lot of people, but we have to begin to inquire into it. And I promise you, if you inquire into it with ayahuasca, you'll be unable to lie to yourself anymore. And you can learn what it means to walk away from pleasure and still enjoy life. To not get stuck in the past. That means when you eat something, or you have an experience in life, that you're not living in the past about it. That you're not chewing on it. That it doesn't make you feel like you're missing something right now and you're comparing this moment to that moment. Because now this moment isn't good enough again. That's another grievance, you see? And this is what we're doing all the time, living in this process of comparison, thinking. And when we sit with ayahuasca, we start to shift from the thinker to watching the thinker. I actually had an experience with ayahuasca in 2017 where it sped up my thinking process. Or you could say it made me aware of my thinking process. And it was quite painful. I had this tremendous insight that all of my pain comes from thinking. That when I don't think, I'm not in pain. I'm not in pain because I'm not thinking about myself, the self that's not real. You see, that's the grand illusion. The belief that there's a self that needs to be protected. And therefore, we need to think about this self that needs to be protected all the time and defend this self all of the time. And how do we defend this self that needs to be protected? By thinking, by planning, by managing our own lives, by searching for things outside ourselves for false enjoyment, for false comfort, over and over again. It's quite a startling discovery to begin to see that all attack is self-attack. And that defenses hold up the illusion of attack. This is a very common pitfall in many ayahuasca circles all over the world. They put up various devices and have many different rituals and practices that are aimed at giving you protection. Protecting what? A Course in Miracles, Foundation of Inner Peace version, opens up with a very famous quote. It says, "Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God." You can choose to pretend that you're a victim of the world if you like, but you'll never get better. You have to take responsibility for the truth that you're living a dream, that your life is your dream. You are the dreamer of this dream, and everything that happens to you is the result of your own mind, your own unconscious desires. It's sad, but it's true. Lots of terrible things are happening in the world all the time. Rape, people are homeless, people get murdered. But deep inside of them is a sense of unworthiness, of abandonment. And we have to come to terms with this. Again, because if we don't, we're going to try to put the problem as if it's something outside of us again, and that's a separation of cause and effect. And the only way out of it is to see that God put the solution where the problem is, in your own mind. What's the solution? We're talking about it. It's forgiveness. It's about learning, not making the false claim that the present moment is the cause of your pain. And a willingness to have a shift in perception, to stop interpreting the present moment emotionally and personally, and to begin to rest in the right mind. The right mind is the correction for the wrong mind. The right mind is the mind of the Holy Spirit, the unifying mind. Quiet mind, silence, awareness. And as you sit with ayahuasca, you have to shift from being so absorbed in this thinking entity, in this parasitic entity that's been thinking for you your whole life because you created it to think for you, and start to dissociate yourself from it, to come out of your mind, your lower mind, and into the higher mind, into awareness, into a sense of stillness, this watchful place, this place of inner listening. Where you begin to observe and feel your quiet mind as yourself. Feel this sense of awareness as yourself and begin to see a whole new world. Begin to unify the whole field of perception. See, that's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness ends the perception of differences. You might say, the willingness to learn forgiveness is the willingness to have a recognition of holiness, which is oneness, which is free of the past. That's what grievances are. Holding all your past conditioning and everything you think you've learned about everyone else, about how they're different from you, how they're separate from you, in the belief that you're a body. See, now we're getting a little bit deeper with ayahuasca, because that's what ayahuasca does. It helps you go deep. It helps you come to terms with Grievances are what keep the mind in the body. The less grievances you have, the less body identified you are. The less thinking you do. The less judgment there is. The lack of planning is going to take place. Figuring out, choosing, deciding. As you learn, what you really need to do is give up choosing. Give up deciding. And begin to reach this place where you learn with increasing clarity, you don't need to do anything. There's nothing for you to do. That's a really beautiful state to begin to see when you're no longer trying to control the direction of your speech because there's some false motive that's going on there. Something you're trying to get from someone or something. When you no longer have to move your own body because you don't care what happens to you. You're not trying to get anything in that moment. And you can begin to rest as a witness. Rest in miracle-mindedness. Rest deeply in right-mindedness. And you begin to float. You begin to fly again as the angel you are, effortlessly. Life unfolds. And you do the laundry. And you cook dinner. And you talk to people. And you go to the bathroom and take a shower. But there's no you doing anything at all. You're there simply watching life unfold in standstill and enjoying every second of it. Unless, of course, you fall off track and you begin to listen to the other voice, the voice that says you're missing something, that you need something from someone or something. And here you go again, holding on to something. So perhaps you drink ayahuasca and it comes up for you. You know, this incredible spirit of ayahuasca, it's relentless. And it helps you turn in. It helps you tune in to the voice of the One, to the voice of the Holy Spirit, to your own voice, to this quiet voice inside of you during ceremony that begins to speak to you. There's a lot of facilitators all over the world that have experienced this. It says, go get Johnny a cup of water. And you walk over and, hey, Johnny, here's some water. How did you know that? It will guide your life in all things. And you begin to learn. This is how you learn. That you can't learn if the past is dictating the present. If your mind's occupied with all these ideas about what you should do or shouldn't do. Your mind is refusing to allow to change. And the only way to change is to give up. Is to stop fighting yourself. Capital S. To unify yourself with this one self. To let go of your private mind. To start questioning. To stop believing that the people around you are the problem. There's many people listening to this talk right now. They're going to end up at a retreat and they're going to think somebody there is driving them crazy. And there's some of you there, and there's some of you right now that are listening to this talk that left a retreat and really thought that somebody else was the problem. You judged them. And whatever it was that bothered you about them is you. And you're not going to be able to get rid of it until you let go of it by forgiving it, by learning how to overlook it, by learning how to stop looking through your ego at the ego of others. Because that's the only way you see someone's ego, through yours. And you begin to see beyond the ego and not make someone else's ego who they are. And you begin to learn that that's how you actually let go of all of your own conditioning. You hand it over. Okay, God, this person's driving me crazy. Maybe it's somebody who talks a lot and you can't take it. You can't stand it. You're like, oh my God, just shut up. A lot of people have this experience in ayahuasca ceremonies when the curanderos are singing. And all they want is peace and quiet. But what they really can't stand is the chatter, the constant chatter of their own thinking mind. Yet, if they can forgive the curandero, if they can forgive the facilitator, the retreat owner, the person at the retreat that they think is driving them crazy, if they can appreciate the opportunity that that person is actually giving them salvation, I promise you this, your ride to Peru through the airport and your ride back is going to be a completely different experience as you begin to dive into the reality of the holy encounter. That every single person that you meet is a reflection of yourself. And the message you receive from them is the message that you give them. So, how are you going to see them? Are you going to see them through the eyes of love, of compassion, of gentleness and tolerance? Are you going to love yourself? Are you going to bring the stranger in and discover he's you or not? Love holds no grievances, my friends. This is the great teaching of ayahuasca, the great miracle. A miracle that, as you learn, allows you to go beyond this world, to enter states of being and realities that normally you can't reach. Realities that teach you you're not a body, and that there's a world beyond this one that is infinitely more valuable than the one that you're in right now. This world has nothing to offer you. It's a desert. I know that's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true. And the thing to do about the desert, as Jesus says, is to leave it. We know it's hard to leave. We're addicted to it. We're addicted to the disease of being mortal. And we have to learn how to let go of the value of this world. And we can do that by seeing beyond this world is a world I really want, of infinite value. You see, you can stay in this world as long as you want. And you can live for climaxes, for variable states of mind, for experiences that are fleeting, that come and go. Or you could discover something else. It's called joy. It's a constant state that's ever increasing. And you can have that experience as your relationship with everything in the world is changed. Because now you've chosen to have a new relationship with everything in the world, a holy relationship. And you can make love instead of have sex. You can enjoy life. And you can discover something so amazing, real vision, illumination vision, Christ-Vision. A state that reflects a mind that desires constancy, that wants wholeness. A mind that no longer wants division anymore. And you will discover the nature of reality is light. And a beautiful light will envelop the entire world, brushing it with beauty. Such a beautiful quote from Jesus. Can ayahuasca teach you all this? Absolutely, my friends. So it's up to you if you want to explore the wonderful world of ayahuasca and give up the illusion that you're a victim of the world you see. To give up the idea that you've been unfairly treated. To discover the reality that all attack is self-attack. To move more deeper, that if you defend yourself, you're attacked, and be willing to let go of all of your defenses. To discover the deep truth that love holds no grievances. That how you see others, that how you think about others, that what you feel about others is how you see or perceive yourself. So the next time you're in an ayahuasca ceremony and it's getting challenging and you're ready to blame everybody and you just can't take it anymore because you don't want to let go, I offer you this. And you say this to yourself, and you keep saying it, and I promise you, you'll get through it. Ayahuasca is my friend. Ayahuasca is my friend. Ayahuasca is my friend. Thank you, ayahuasca. Thank you so much, ayahuasca. Muchos gracias, ayahuasca. Thank you so much, ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is my friend. Ayahuasca is your friend. Thank you so much for spending time with me, for listening to this talk. Until next time, God saves. Hello again, everybody. Thanks again for listening to the Voice of the One podcast. If you have any interest in attending one of our life-changing Plants and Miracles retreats and wish to explore the wondrous world of ayahuasca and A Course in Miracles, please visit us online at www.iamoneself.com and check out the retreats page. That's iamoneself.com/retreats. And if you really enjoyed today's content, consider making a donation to the Holy Earth Foundation or join our growing spiritual community on Patreon at patreon.com/iamoneself. Come, be a part, meet the like-minded, and gain access to the growing body of my work with discourses on miracle forgiveness, illumination vision, and much, much more. I hope to see you there. Please accept this gift, who is the miracle of Ash Avery, ayahuasquero and owner of the Garden of Peace Ayahuasca Retreat with Hizikaro Remedy. Love is the remedy, my friends, forever and ever. I love you so much. Until next time, God saves.
My remedy, you came along and rescued me. You are my medicine, my sweet remedy. You are my medicine, sweet like honey. When I needed you mostly. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. You're a special kind of medicine like no other I have ever discovered. The way you bring me up when I feel down, yeah, you bring a smile straight onto my face. The way you soothe my soul and you warm my heart with your love, with your love, your love, your love, your love is the medicine, your love is the remedy. L-O-V-E, L-O-V-E. Your love is the medicine, your love is the remedy. L-O-V-E. You're nothing less than an angel in my eyes. Yeah, I'm so damn lucky to have you in my life. You're oh so pretty, like a flower. There's so much medicine in your essence. Your love is the medicine. Your love is the remedy. L-O-V-E, L-O-V-E. Your love is the medicine. Your love is the remedy. L-O-V-E. Ba 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 da ba da beat boom ba da ba ba da ba da beat boom ba da ba ba da ba da beat boom ba da ba ba da ba da beat boom ba da ba ba da ba da beat boom ba da ba ba da ba da beat boom ba da ba ba da ba da